Welcome to the Dad Ventures podcast. If you're new here, I'm a dad who refuses to settle for boring faith and passive fatherhood. I believe that fatherhood and following Jesus are two of the greatest adventures imaginable. And I'm on a quest to bring other dads along on this journey of adventurous faith and fatherhood. I'm your host, Michael Parks. And today I'm going to show you how you can defeat one of the biggest enemies that you face as a dad. But first, let's start with Jesus. Easter is coming up soon, and our word for the month here at the Dad Ventures is resurrection. And we're using this word to help point our kids to Jesus and his resurrection. And if you're subscribed to our email newsletter, then you received an email with some ideas on how you can point your kids to Jesus and the resurrection this Easter. So if you're subscribed to that, you've already gotten that. Make sure you check that out. And I'd encourage you to use one or two of those ideas. But if you're not subscribed, go ahead and go on over to our website at thedadventures.com and hit that subscribe button. And you'll be subscribed to our email newsletter, and you'll get things like this from time to time before they come out on our blog. I'm going to put this out on the blog here in the not too distant future. But if you're subscribed to the email newsletter, you're going to get them before they even come out on the blog. Again, I would encourage you to use one or two of these ideas to just help your kids understand the resurrection and the power of the resurrection in our lives. Now, our verse for the month, going along with our word for the month of resurrection, our verse is Philippians chapter 3, verses 10 through 11. And again, I would encourage you to memorize this with your kids, or at the very least, read this through a few times a week this month as you help point your kids to the resurrection. And today, what I want to do is I want to take a look at those two verses 10 and 11, but I want to look at them in their bigger context within the chapter of Philippians chapter 3. So we're going to be looking at Philippians chapter 3, verses 7 through 14. Paul writes this: "But whatever were gains to me, I now consider loss for the sake of Christ. What is more, I consider everything a loss because of the surpassing worth of knowing Christ Jesus my Lord, for whose sake I have lost all things. I consider them garbage, that I may gain Christ, and be found in him, not having a righteousness of my own that comes from the law, but that which is through faith in Christ, the righteousness that comes from God on the basis of faith. I want to know Christ, yes, to know the power of his resurrection and participation in his sufferings, becoming like him in his death, and so somehow attaining to the resurrection from the dead. Not that I have already obtained all this or have already arrived at my goal, but I press on to take hold of that for which Christ Jesus took hold of me. Brothers and sisters, I do not consider myself yet to have taken hold of it, but one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straining toward what is ahead, I press on toward the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus." Dads, there is nothing more valuable, no bigger prize out there than a relationship with Jesus and salvation through him. Absolutely nothing. In fact, Paul says anything that he's ever had in his life, no matter how great it was, no matter how valuable it is, he considers it trash. It's garbage compared to knowing Christ. And dads, there is no more important job for us as dads than to lead our children to know Jesus, to experience his love, to experience his life, to experience the power of his resurrection. There is nothing more important than that, and there is nothing more exciting than that as a dad. So I just want to encourage you with these words from Paul, and I want to encourage you to continue to press on toward this goal, to know Christ and to make him known to your family to lead them on this adventurous faith journey with Christ. And this is what we're going to be diving into on this episode, and actually the next few episodes that are going to be following. But first, I want to ask you a question. All right, I want you to just kind of imagine with me for a second. I want you to think about your favorite action or adventure hero. Right? Now, this could be from a book or a movie, TV show, or this could be a real person. Either someone you know or just someone from history. Maybe it's Luke Skywalker, right? Star Wars. Maybe it's a superhero like Batman or Spider-Man. Maybe it's a war hero or an explorer from history. Who's your favorite action adventure hero? All right, do you have someone? All right, now, who was their enemy? Because every hero has an enemy. So who is this person's enemy? We all have, every hero has an enemy, but really, when you think about it, every hero has multiple enemies. All right, so for me, growing up, I loved Batman. Now, I didn't really read the comic books, but I loved the cartoon. I got into the movies, and even as an adult, these are some of my favorite movies, like the Dark Knight trilogy. Just a kind of I don't know, it's just something about Batman that really drew me to him. And of course, Batman, arch enemy, is the Joker. But I mean, he's got multiple enemies that he has to face through the stories, right? I mean, Scarecrow and Riddler and Penguin and Two-Face and Mr. Freeze and Catwoman, and I mean, there's so many. If you do some research on all the enemies of Batman, I mean, there's just so many throughout all the years. Every hero has enemies. And we've talked about this before. Whether you realize it or not, you have an enemy. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8 says, "Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour." Every single one of us faces this enemy. The devil is our arch enemy. And this is true whether or not you believe in Jesus, whether you follow him. You have an enemy, and it is the devil. And he is out to destroy you. He's out to destroy all of us. But we also face many other enemies in life. And all of these ultimately come from our arch enemy, the devil. But there are three big enemies that every single dad faces. Every single one of us is going to face these three enemies. Now, there are other enemies that you may face that are different than the ones that I face, but I am confident that every single one of us faces these three enemies. And we're going to take a look at one of those today on this episode. Big enemy number one that every dad faces is apathy. This enemy is common to every single dad and really every single follower of Jesus. We're going to face apathy, whether that's, just from time to time, we have to kind of battle that apathy, or this is something that's really prevalent pretty much every day of our lives. All of us are going to face some type of apathy in our lives. Now, I do want to be clear that I'm not talking about like a constant state of apathy towards everything in life. Just like a general indifference and lack of motivation to do anything at all at any time, right? Because if that's the case, if you're dealing with that could be a sign of something like depression or mental illness. And if you are dealing with that, dads, I would highly encourage you to talk to someone, see a counselor, a therapist, some other mental health professional. Right? We have, unfortunately, we've put a stigma on mental health. But hey, if you were dealing with something physically, like if you're fixing the roof and you fell off and you cracked your femur, you would go see a doctor, and you would do what it takes to get your leg back to its healthy right self. Okay, so in the same way, As we experience hurt, we experience trauma that damages our psyche, that damages us mentally and emotionally. And there's nothing wrong with getting help to deal with it. Okay, so I'd encourage you to do that if that is what you're dealing with. But that's not what I'm talking about when I'm talking about apathy in regards to our biggest enemy, one of our biggest enemies that we face. This is more of a lack of interest or concern, specifically in the areas of faith and fatherhood. And I know that all of us are going to face this from time to time. In at least one of those areas, either faith or fatherhood or both. Some dads, may have an overall state of apathy in one of those or in both of those areas. Maybe you're just, both of those, you don't really care that much about them. You're kind of indifferent. They're just not important or not as important as other things. Just not really a priority. Maybe like, it's good. It's probably something you should care about, but you know what? I'm just going to let somebody else do that for me. I'm going to hand that off to mom. I'm going to hand that off to a youth minister, a pastor, whatever it is, okay? But all of us are going to deal with that from time to time, or for some of you, maybe that's something that you really struggle with. Now, if you're listening to this podcast, then odds are you're probably not just overall apathetic towards faith or fatherhood. But maybe somebody pointed you to this episode, and I'm so glad they did. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad that you're listening to it, and you're taking the right step. You're taking a step, and that is huge. Keep listening, and you're going to get something really good out of this. But what does this look like? What does this look like, this apathy towards faith, towards fatherhood? This is, maybe, again, like an overall apathy towards fatherhood or your children. This could be that, as a dad, maybe you see your role as simply providing financially for your family, right? I go to work, I make money, and you know what? My wife takes care of the rest, right? She gets them ready for school. She takes care of them. She feeds them. She helps them with their homework. She does all the other things. She gets them to church. And, when I come home, I just want to, I'm worn out, I'm tired, I'm stressed out. I just want to kind of sit down in my chair, do my own thing. And the kids, they can do their own thing. As far as faith and spiritual matters, it's just maybe just not really a priority for you. Maybe you want to be a good dad and you're involved with your kids, but church and faith maybe they're just not that important to you. Again, since you're listening to this podcast, unless, like I said, if someone's pointed you to this podcast, hey, you are taking a right step, and I applaud you for that. Let's keep going. All right. I do want to, really quickly, I want to invite you to stick around, check out not just this episode, but some of the other episodes. Go back and listen to some of these other episodes, because I know that you're going to get something very beneficial out of them. I'm confident that you will see how awesome this adventure with Jesus is. Now, odds are for most of us that we are either apathetic in one of these areas, or maybe we struggle with apathy from time to time in both of these areas. That's just normal. That's just a normal part of life. But I want us to answer this question. Why are we apathetic? Why, sometimes are we just kind of indifferent, or we don't care as much about, our role as a father or our role as a disciple, a follower of Jesus? Well, here's some reasons why I think, we are apathetic. This is what I see. Sometimes we just don't think it matters. Maybe this is you. You just don't think it matters. You don't understand the importance, or you just don't see how it affects you or how it affects other people. Or maybe sometimes you just don't think that you have any power to make a difference. Maybe you think, well, yeah, it is important, but what can I do? I don't have any power to change anything. I can't do anything about it. So why even care? Or perhaps this reason, maybe something else has captured your heart. When this happens, we become self-centered. I don't really care what happens to others as long as it doesn't affect me. I don't really care what happens. Or, we just let other things creep in and become a priority, or even worse, an idol in our lives. And this tends to happen in one or two situations. One, this happens when things are going well, right? So, if things are going well, we kind of say, hey, why do I need to worry about this? Why do I need to try to fix anything if things are going well in my life? Job's good, finances are good. Why do I need to worry about something else? Or number two, we get so busy or overwhelmed with other things that they just draw our attention away from what's really important. I've got too many other problems or concerns or things on my calendar that I just can't give any more attention or energy to anything else. But here's what we've got to understand. We have to understand what's at stake. We have to understand where apathy towards faith and fatherhood can lead. And it's not someplace good. All right? So remember the verse that we just looked at, 1 Peter 5:8. Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. Dads, eternity is at stake for us and our families. Eternity is at stake. Our souls are at stake. The souls of our children are at stake. There is nothing more valuable that we could lose. Remember what we read about, what Paul was saying, that there's nothing more valuable than knowing Jesus. This is what's at stake. Our relationship with him, our very souls are at stake, and the souls of our children, our families are at stake. Jesus says this in Matthew chapter 16, verse 26. What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? We can work and accumulate wealth, and we can accumulate awards and accolades and all these different things, but what good is any of that at the end of life if we forfeit our own soul and the souls of our children? We have to understand that we can lose our souls and the souls of our kids. That is what's at stake. But the flip side of that is there is something that we can gain. There is something so important, so valuable, so incredibly worth it that we can gain by defeating apathy in our lives. Paul writes this in 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 24 through 27 from the NIV. Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Run this race like the only one person is going to win. If only one person can win, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that I don't miss out on the prize. He goes on to say, everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. Why do they do it? They do it to get that crown. They do it to get a crown that will not last. But we do it to get a crown that will last forever. Therefore, I do not run like someone running aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. No, I strike a blow to my body and make it my slave, so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize. Now, I want to be clear that this is not a works-based theology. That's not what Paul is talking about here. What he's talking about is a desire, a motivation, a longing to say, I want this more than anything. This is the most important thing in my life, and I am going to give everything. to grab hold of it. I am going to give everything, like an Olympic athlete who is going to devote their life and give up so many other things so that they can win that prize. I'm going to be like that so I can win the prize of knowing Jesus. What is the reward? Yes, eternity in heaven with Jesus, but more than that. Yes, a relationship with Christ and the Holy Spirit living within us and assurance of our salvation. But there is more than that. Because if you look at this chapter in its context, Paul finds his reward in preaching the gospel to others. The prize, the reward, is leading other people to experience the good news of Jesus. That is a reward for Paul. And that's true for us as parents, as dads. Leading our kids to Jesus is more valuable than any other earthly reward. There's nothing better than seeing your kids experience Jesus and come to know him and live their lives for him. So for me, this is me. Here's what I want. This is what I want as a dad with my life. Here's the prize that I am working for. At the end of my life, whether that's 5 minutes from now or 50 years from now, I want to know that I have been obedient to Christ in my role as a dad. I want to know that. And I want my family to, at the end of my life, I want my family to be simultaneously sad that I'm gone from this life, sad that they're going to miss out on spending time with me here on this earth, but at the same time thankful for the legacy that I've left behind, a legacy of faith, a legacy of adventure, a legacy of love, and excited for me that I get to see Jesus face to face. That's what I want. And I want to know that I have set my kids and my family on a trajectory that, not only are they going to be continuing on this journey of this adventure with Jesus, but also that their children and their children and their children and their children on down the line are going to be doing the same, that I have set my family on that trajectory. That is what I want. That is the prize that I am working for. And during my time on earth, I want to experience the joy and the thrill of leading my family on this adventure together with Christ. Guys, I've seen my kids hit home runs. I've seen them hit game-winning shots. I've seen them win, baseball and softball games. I've seen them win awards at school, and that's all great. And it's super exciting. I love it. But Paul reminds us that these rewards are temporary. They don't last. I mean, my kids have trophies and medals on their shelves, and yeah, they might look at them from time to time, but I mean, they don't even really, a lot of times, remember what happened. It hasn't been that long. But the glory of that win, that prize, it fades long before the end of our lives. And we're definitely not taking them with us at the end of this life. They don't last. It's a temporary crown. What is more exciting than those is when I see my kids take steps in their faith and in their relationship with Jesus. Watching them say a prayer or recite a scripture, seeing them make the right decision when I know it's tough. Seeing them, make a sacrifice in their life, watching how they treat others and care for people who are in need, seeing them make sacrifices to serve others, to give up their time to go on mission trips or to help with service projects, seeing them get excited about spending time with God, reading their Bibles and praying. That, for me, is way more exciting than any award or prize or game-winning shot, anything else that my kids could do. That is incredibly exciting. But I don't just want this for my family. I want this for your family and for as many families, as many dads as I can reach. And guys, this is possible. It may not seem like it is for you, but this is possible. This prize is within your reach. But first, we have to slay the enemy that is apathy. Again, whether that apathy is something that crops up from time to time, or if it's this prolonged apathy toward fatherhood or spiritual matters that's in your life, or both of them, you have to defeat it. And you can. And I'm going to give you some steps and some weapons that you can use to defeat apathy anytime it comes to do battle with you. All right, so here's 2 steps to battle apathy. Number 1, examine your heart. Search your heart. Take some time to look within yourself and examine what's going on in your heart. Talk with someone else, okay, if you have to. Talk with a pastor or a minister, a mentor, a trusted friend who's a believer, someone who loves Jesus, who cares about you, and has a lot of godly wisdom. And just see what's causing this indifference in your heart. Has something else captured your heart? Look at how you spend your time, your energy, your attention, even your money. What's captured your heart? What do you care about most? Is there something that's become an idol, a god for you in your life that you worship? Maybe some wrong priorities that you have. Ask yourself, who is it that you really love? Or what is it that you really love? What have you made most important in your life? Or what have you made king of your life? Maybe you need to look in and see, is there some type of sin that you're kind of stuck in that keeps cropping up that you just seem like you can't get out of? That sin will take root and it will take hold and choke out the joy of our salvation, the joy of a relationship with Christ. Or maybe you feel apathetic because you believe that maybe you just believe like you don't matter. That you maybe believe that what you do as a dad doesn't really affect your kids. It doesn't really matter to them. You just think that you aren't important to your kids. Take some time to examine your heart. Don't wait. Spend time as soon as possible searching your heart and answering these questions. Pause this podcast for a moment and work through those questions, or call or text that friend, that mentor, that minister, someone that you can talk about. Examine your heart. And then number 2, second step, realize your purpose. You have been given a purpose by God. You've been put in this position as a father by God himself. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4 gives this charge specifically to fathers, to dads, to bring your children up in the training and instruction of the Lord. You've been given a purpose. You've been called by God, commissioned by Christ to lead your kids to know Jesus. You can and do make a difference. If you don't believe me right now, go back and listen to episode number 4, Dads Needed, and episode number 6, The Importance of Fathers. You are important. You do make a difference. You have been given a purpose by God. Your family needs you. They need us. They need us as dads. We have a unique role in shaping and leading our kids. Yes, they need moms. Yes, they need grandparents. Yes, they need so many other people, but they for sure need you, Dad. Realize this, because I know that can be a little intimidating. Might sound a little overwhelming, but realize this, understand this. If God has called you to it, He will equip you for it. You may not feel like you can do this, that you can handle this, But I promise you, you can because God can. And He has promised to walk with you through this. He's promised to equip you for this. And be sure to listen to the next episode, because we're going to be looking at this second enemy that we face as dads. All of us face, and it's this feeling of inadequacy. We all feel it. It doesn't matter how good of a dad you are, you're going to feel inadequate from time to time. But God makes the promise to equip you for this journey, for this purpose He's given you. So, our steps, 2 steps to battling apathy. Number 1, examine your heart. Number 2, realize your purpose. All right, and now I want to give you 2 weapons to battle apathy. It's like dual-wield weapons, okay? Because they go hand in hand. You got to have both of them. Action and presence. These are your 2 weapons to battle apathy. Action and presence. Apathy keeps us from taking action. So the best thing to do is to just do something. It's to get up and do something. Right? There have been so many times when I felt apathetic or indifferent, and whether that was going to work out or sometimes my wife say, "Hey, let's go do this. Let's go on a hike. Let's go explore downtown." I'm like, I don't know if I really feel like doing that, but I did it anyway. And every single time, I was so thankful that I did, that I took the action. I got up, I got moving, and I did it. Do something, all right? Take action. And presence. Be present. Presence creates closeness, and making that makes apathy vanish, right? Because when you are close to somebody, when you're in close proximity to someone, it's hard not to care about them, right? When you see commercials about people who are suffering in another country or halfway around the world, it's not the same as when you see somebody with your very own eyes right in front of you who's in need. Presence creates closeness, and it makes apathy vanish. So spend time in God's presence. Be present with your kids. To battle apathy, be present and take action. And guys, don't worry. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay? None of this has to be perfect, because it's not about that. It's about progress, not perfection. Guys, the hardest thing to do is to get started. The first step is always the hardest. But if you do it, it's like a flywheel. When getting started is the hardest part. But once you get going, you start building momentum, and then it becomes easier to just keep it going. It doesn't take as much energy and effort to keep it going once you get it going. So take that first step. Just do something. Put down the phone, get off the recliner, off the couch, and go be a dad. Go do something. Go spend some time with your kids. Now, you might say, well, what should I do? What do I do? Well, hey, it depends on your situation, where your apathy is, but let me give you some ideas, okay? So if you're dealing with some spiritual apathy, right, just take 1 to 2 minutes today, even right now, pause it right now, read the Bible. Just read the Bible for a minute, pray for a minute. Don't know where to start? Start with the Gospel of Mark. Start with the life of Jesus, right? Start small. Start with just a minute of reading, okay? If that seems like too much, 30 seconds of reading, 30 seconds of prayer, okay? There's no magic formula to this. Again, the key is to just do something. And then set that as a goal that you're going to do this every day. Write it down. Put it in your calendar. Put a reminder on your phone. Text it to your wife. Text it to a friend. Hey, I'm going to do this. Keep me accountable. Just do it. Stick to it, because I guarantee you will not regret it. And then, take your family to church. Get them to church this weekend. Make it a weekly rhythm. Pray at dinner with your family. Pray with your family at bedtime. Okay, this is kind of some overlap here with the spiritual apathy and the fatherhood apathy, but just do those. If those things are not being done, if you're not doing those things, do it. Or if your wife is doing it and you're just kind of doing your own thing while that's happening, get up, go over there, be present with your family, and participate. Get in their presence. Now, fatherhood apathy, you're dealing with that, all right? Again, put the phone down. Turn off the TV or the computer. Silence any distractions. Just go be with your kid, right? 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Go play with your kids. Play catch or shoot hoops. Don't coach. Don't give them pointers. Just play with them, all right? Build that bond, that relationship with them. Play with some Legos with them. Play dress up. Have a tickle fight. Take them to the park and play on the playground. Push them on the swing. Lift them up and let them climb. And just encourage them and cheer for them when they do cool things, okay? Spend time with them doing something that they enjoy. Read a book to them or with them. Maybe it's just saying, I love you. Giving them a hug. Take your kids out to get ice cream or donuts. And have a conversation. And by conversation, I mean really listen. Let them talk. Listen to them, what they have to say. I've said this before. One of the best things that you can do is to just ask them their highs and lows after school. What was your high? What was your low? What was your best thing that happened? What was the worst thing that happened? And listen. You can get all kinds of different conversation starters online. Use those at dinner time or in a car ride. Your older kids, teenagers, ask them their dreams. What's your dream for the future? What do you want? And just listen. Take action and be present. And here's the results. Here's what's going to happen. 1, passion. Action and presence will destroy apathy, and the result is passion. You'll become a passionate father and a passionate follower of Jesus. And number 2, you're going to become a strong dad with a strong family, leading a strong family on an adventure with Jesus. You become a strong dad leading a strong family on an adventure with Jesus. You're going to build a legacy of faith, adventure, and love that will go on for generations. Your wife will be grateful. Your kids will be grateful. Your grandkids will be grateful. You will be a hero to your family for leading them to the ultimate hero, Jesus. Dads, you can do this. You can battle apathy by examining your heart, realizing your purpose, and using action and presence to turn apathy into passion. And you will become a strong dad, leading a strong family on this adventure with Jesus. Dads, you've got this. I'm praying for you and I'm cheering you on, and I cannot wait to hear what God does through you. Thanks for listening to the Dad Ventures podcast. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and share it with another dad. Let's build a community of strong dads leading strong families.